Previously on A Leg of Glazed Ham is committing to the bit and is talking about One Tree Hill. Back at Peyton's house, she immediately ruins all goodwill she had with me when she's revealed to have a Radiohead album. D-A-N-N-Y is a super shitty guy. D-A-N-N-Y. He's gonna tell a bunch of lies. Cut to Dan in prison and he's gonna hang himself. He's been in prison for 2 weeks and he's already ready to end it all. The kids spray paint their beloved court, and Lucas says that in 4 years, they'll all be right back here, done with whatever they go off to do. And for the last time, we get the original intro. That's right, the season finale doesn't have it, and going forward, it's gone. I guess you never know what you've got till it's gone. Dung, dung. I don't wanna be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately. All I have to do is think of me and I have peace of mind. I don't wanna be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately. All I have to do is think of me and I have peace of mind. I'm tired of looking around rooms wondering what I gotta do or who I'm supposed to be. I don't wanna be anything other than me. Season 5. God damn it, Lucas, you dumb bitch! Episode 89 out of 187. We return to Tree Hill 4 years, 6 months, and 2 days after graduation in the episode titled 4 years, 6 months, 2 days. We see a very sad Lubisky standing on an empty and in need of repair river court, the faded graffiti still there like a scar. We cut to Nathan and Jaylee Scott, and they're on the rocks. Nathan is watching his son play basketball, and he seems angry. Anyways, we cut to New York, and Brooke is running a successful company, and she's just as bitchy as ever. Also, her mom works for her. Anyways, back in Los Angeles, Peyton is not having a good time. It seems like she never went back for Lucas, and her life kinda sucks. Also, she gets sexually harassed by her boss because the music industry is a hellscape no one should have to endure. Back to reality, Lubisky visits Mrs. Haley James Scott, who is now a high school English teacher at Tree Hill High. Wow, look at her go. Cut to Nathan, who's repeatedly watching the tape where he got like the 10th pick in the NBA draft, only for him to get in a bar fight, go flying through a window. No, not the dealership window, even though I completely get why you would think that given the other seasons, and he gets injured. Cut to Lubisky, and now he's the head coach of the Tree Hill Ravens, and Skills is his assistant coach. We see Lucas struggle to start writing his next novel. God, he's literally me. And he's got an editor, and they kind of have a little relationship going. Seems like something happened between Lubisky and Peyton in the 4 years, 6 months, and 2 days since we last checked in. Back in New York City, Broke No More's mom is a bitch on an unprecedented level. Like, she makes Chloe Price look like a good person by comparison. Back at home, Nathan's still wheelchair bound after the accident. He's unshaven and looks homeless despite being in a mansion. Also, he's an alcoholic now and he's scaring his son. We see how the Rivercourt gang is helping to raise Jamie Scott. Jaylee Scott comes to pick up the boy, and as he leaves, he tells Lubisky that he should be writing. He's completely dejected. In fact, he's just been eviscerated by a 4-year-old. In LA, we see a sad Peyton look at a copy of Lubisky's book, and in Tree Hill, we see Jaylee come home to a drunken Nathan passed out on the couch. He wakes up, they bicker. It's not going well for them. Nobody is allowed to be happy here. In Peyton's apartment, we see that she has like 27 different copies of Lucas's book, An Unkindness of Ravens. See? I told you that fact would be important and relevant in season 5. Sorry. She plays an audiobook version of it and plays the chapter about her, and she just breaks down like her car. She then calls Brooke and she monologues about how aside from this song, life sucks. Peyton then quits her job and she's heading home to Tree Hill. Back there, Nathan wakes up and Jamie tells his dad, "I think you drink too much," which only makes him more depressed. Lucas looks through some old photos of Peyton and he looks sad. He heads to the river court and guess who's there waiting for him? That's right, Peyton! For the first time in 2 years, they see each other. He drops that he's now seeing his editor, and Peyton looks like she just wants to die. Back at home, Lucas opens his drawers and pulls out the box that has a wedding ring in it. We know what happened 2 years ago now. Nathan is outside near the pool having some baby rage, and his kid sees this. He was about to give his dad a drawing he did, and he turns to leave. Dad calls for him, he gets the drawing, and he's motivated to try and stand up again so he can hug his son. He's out of the chair, if only for a moment, and he apologizes to his boy for how Dan-like he's been. We see that Peyton called Brooke, and we get to see the other side of that phone call. Brooke Davis and Peyton have been reunited in the airport, and they're heading home.
Alright everyone, it's time for episode 90 out of 187. Let's put on a show!
Brooke pays a visit to Lubisky, and since no one in Tree Hill knows how to lock their goddamn door, she just walks right into his house and discovers his new girlfriend in his bed. Lucas comes in and the two old friends hug. Nathan tries to walk across his bedroom and he hits the floor. Miss Jaylee Scott has her first real day as a teacher, and she has no control over the class and gets sexually harassed by one of her students. Wow, this show really sucks. Broke no more and Peyton walk and talk, and we'll see what happens later. We see Coach Lubisky do his thing like a Chad. The girls go to see Nathan, who's gazing into his pool like he's gonna drown himself. They jokingly flirt at him. It's actually pretty funny. Jaylee Hames comes home, and everyone's been reunited. Woo! Nathan leaves because he's a depressed sack of shit. Later we see him trying to walk again, and it's not going well. Jaylee Hames comes and they start fighting. Jamie wanders off into the street and almost gets run over. The lady that almost hit him will go on to become his nanny. Anyway, Mouth has a subplot this season, and it's his occupational escapades with a boss that wants to off him, and I won't mention it. Lol. Godmother Brooke teaches Lamey Jukas Scott how to stand up for himself. And oh hey, guess what's still going strong? That's right, Trick. Jaylee Hames Scott, Brooke Davis, and Peyton go drinking and dancing, and Peyton meets Lindsay, la redactora y novia nueva de Lucas. Peyton and Lindsay meet, and there is definitely a sense of conflict between them immediately. However, we all know that no girl can stand between Lubisky and Peyton. Anyways, Lubisky allows Peyton to use this back room and Trick to start her own record label. There was some weepy melodramatic bullshit about a book signing in LA that Peyton apparently didn't go to, but she did. She just ran off crying when she saw the editor kiss Lubisky on the cheek. Anyway, Peyton goes on this long, romantic speech about inspiration, and now Lucas has the inspiration to start writing again. And I wonder if he knows what it means. Just kidding, he won't understand. Her speech included a reference to a really early interaction they had when he said, "Your art matters, it's what got me here," and her repeating this says a lot that he's too dense to understand. Also, Nathan is starting his path to recovery after he almost drowned himself in the pool. Nathan gives Jamie a lesson on how to work through fear, and it's a nice change of pace to see them bonding instead of him being like Danny Boy. Episode 91 out of 187. Man, I really miss the intro. The openings just feel so boring now. Lindsay wakes up and Lubisky is still typing away, but it turns out he's got to go coach in like 8 minutes. What a travesty. Nathan is beginning to walk again, slowly but surely. Anyways, there's been a subplot I've been ignoring around this kid named Quentin, the one who sexually harassed Jaylee Hames Scott, and how he's now failing English and not coming to school and all that shit since he didn't make the team, and I really don't care. I have to mention it at some point because the resolution to this plotline matters in the larger narrative, I guess, but it's something. Anyways, we see Jaylee Hames Scott and Lindsay have lunch, and Lindsay knows what Lubisky doesn't. She noticed the timing of Lucas getting his inspiration back right around when Peyton rolled back into town. It's just a coincidence, right? I mean, he'd never leave Lindsay to go back to the real love of his life, right? Anyways, during some sequence, there was a very faint and unidentifiable Ryan Adams song playing, so the Ryan Adams song counter gets updated to 13 anyways. Lindsay visits Peyton, and it feels a tad hostile, and a bit like she's marking her territory when she says, "I want you to know I'm here." Anyways, there's some bullshit with Nathan visiting Danny Boy in prison, Nathan getting his life back on track, the aforementioned Lindsay shit, etc., etc. Also, Broke No More opened a Clothes Over Bros location in Tree Hill, in the location that was once Karen's Cafe. Peyton keeps denying that she didn't come back for Lucas, and she's on the quest to find her first artist to record on her label, Red Bedroom Records. Peyton's journey continues, she and Lindsay dislike each other, and it's because we know that Lindsay never stood a chance in the long run. Anyways, Nathan is getting his life on track, and he has a nice family dinner. He's shaved, and now he just needs a haircut, and he'll be good as new. Man. Anyways, Brooke just straight up bought someone's house and now her and Peyton are living together again. It's only a matter of time until Peyton moves out and ends up with Lubisky again, so it is what it is. Lindsay foolishly asks if she should be worried about their relationship, and he lies to himself and her by saying no. We all know this is just a big waste of time. Brooke and Peyton are besties again, and oh god damn it, Brooke's shit-ass mom comes to town and tells Brooke that she better get her ass on the next flight to NYC with her, but we know she won't. Episode 92 out of 187. Peyton has potentially secured her first band. Progress! Lubisky gets a letter from his mom and sister who are just traveling the world, leaving Lucas far behind. Anyways, back to Mouth, he had sex with his boss who hates him. My man! Brooke is having a shit time since her mom came back to town to berate her, and we do not care. Anyways, let's check in on another subplot we don't care about. Quentin. He's been skipping school and being a shitlord ever since he left, and Nathan has been sent to give him a certified coach speech. Back to Lubisky, Lindsay is going to NYC for a bit, and Peyton has to make amends and apologize to her. Lindsay decides to be a bitch to Peyton, because we all know she never stood a chance. But she did tell her that Lucas and her should go to the grand opening of Brooke's new store. Nathan got a haircut, and now he looks like himself again. Back to Peyton's musical madness subplot, the lead singer is a worthless jackass, and when he leaves, he takes most of the band with him, except for the only member who actually had any talent. Her name is Mia, and she is about to have a career, unlike that Crush 40 looking ass bastard. Quentin's a-selfish ass is doing everything in his power to ruin his chances, but due to Nathan being designated as his coach, he'll have to grow. Back to Mouth, my boy is a man of the people, and my man stands up to the boss, his evil boss, my man. And then they start making out in her office. My man? I'm conflicted again. Mouth and Brooke's assistant me, and they kinda hit it off. I wonder if this is the start of some new subplot. At the grand opening party, Brooke pulls Peyton aside and has to give her the talk that she can't get with Lubisky. A complete lie. Lucas is going to leave, Peyton's talking with the bartender, and when he says goodbye, he leans in and whispers to her, "He's not good enough for you," and then leaves. My man! She storms out after him, she says it's not fair to her or Lindsay for him to say something like that, and he doesn't really care. My man! Somewhere deep down, he knows that Lindsay is not the one. Her ass is not Peyton. Jaylee Haim Scott almost has the Max Caulfield haircut. Just thought I needed to mention this. Anyways, Mia's solo songwriting adventure is going just fine. Yeah, it's time for episode 93 out of 187. Lindsay is back, and as she was cleaning, she found a photo of Lubisky and his time as coach's assistant coach in college. She brings this up to him because he was actually smiling in that photo, and he's lying his ass off when he says he wasn't happier then. We get a flashback to 3 years ago, and it's that college championship game where coach is sitting back and letting his assistant coach do all the work. During a timeout late into the game, coach hands the reins over to Lucas, and it's his time to shine as the new head coach. He has a plan, and he's the hero of the story. As they head back to the court, Lucas and Nathan have their usual gag about the fadeaway being a weak move, and of course that's the move that wins the championship. The Scotts are a champion in their eyes, and when Lucas sees Nathan and Jaylee kiss after the game, we get a flashback to the moment where Lucas's dreams came true and Peyton was next to him. And now, coach has retired and Lucas is the head coach for that college, for as long as Nathan's here. On the bus ride home, Lucas got got an email of a song from Peyton, and he plays it and he feels good. Lucas and Coach talk, and he's got some new motivation to go see his girl in LA. Speaking of his girl, how is she? Peyton's at work and he goes to see her. They immediately start kissing, and she shows him around as she does her job, working in the mailroom. Later that night, they go to dinner, and she talks about the live shows she's been to. And you'll never guess who she saw that Monday. No, really, you'd never guess that she saw Ryan Adams. Lucas tells her about him going to become a coach, and he was planning on doing a big thing, but she has to go back to the office. She's at work for too long and eventually comes to the hotel room he's staying in. During the wait, we find out that he was going to ask her to marry him. She comes in and he does his whole proposal with Keith's ring, and all she can say is not now. He's so dejected and demoralized that he just leaves in the morning without waking her up, leaving a CD on the bed and nothing else. As he's in the airport, he gets a call, and his novel is getting published! So he's getting tickets to New York, and the worker there says it must be a dream come true. He then considers calling Peyton, but he doesn't. She's completely destroyed. We get to see the first meeting between Lubisky and Lindsay, and guess who came to see the boy? It's Brooke! Lubisky and her spend the night together, and they talk about the Peyton incident that happened the night before. He has no hope, but Brooke is being furiously optimistic, and she knows what they don't. They're out drinking, and she looks at the ring, and now they're getting free drinks all night thanks to the ring and faking an engagement. He's a drunken mess by the end of the night, but she's gonna help him recover. Back in LA, Peyton breaks down crying on the mailroom floor, and all is lost. Snapping back to reality, and Lucas steps away from the photo and goes for a walk. He goes and visits Brooke, and they reminisce over what could have been that night. He turns to leave, but Brooke pieces it together that he still loves Peyton, but he'll deny this to hell and back. He'll be the last person to realize the obvious. Episode 94 out of 187. It's time to celebrate because we are now officially halfway through the show. We open with Lamey Jukas Scott having a Grandpa Dan nightmare, and now they've got a weird plot line to go down. Peyton visits her old house, and the teen girl who lives there now invites her to see her old room. How sweet? Anyway, this teen girl knows about her and Lucas because she left the door like Peyton did, and this gives Peyton a small crisis. She'll also cause a small crisis because of a wacky studio incident that involves Brooke's mom being a bitch, and Peyton saying that she doesn't like Lindsay and her hearing this, among other things. Lindsay storms home to Lucas and calls Peyton a bitch. Peyton storms to Close Over Bros to talk with Brooke, and she calls Brooke's mom a bitch. At the Scott residence, the nanny, her name is Carrie, hits on Nathan while he's rehabbing in the pool. Anyways, that night, Jamie has a nightmare, and when Jaylee Hames goes to comfort him, he says he wants his other mama, in reference to Nanny Carrie. Jaylee is absolutely crushed by this, but it turns out it was just a nightmare sequence. But the part about Carrie hitting on Nathan is real, and she should be afraid of things to come. Lucas and Peyton talk about what she said, and he's a tad pissy, and she basically tells him to fuck off! Yikes! We get more shit with Victoria being a bitchwad, and Lucas is gazing at his wedding ring when Lindsay comes home and he proposes, only for Peyton to tell her to say no as she's lounging on the bed in her undies, and oopsie, Lubisky was just dreaming. He wakes up, and tonight he and Lindsay are having dinner with the Scott family. Nanny Carrie keeps hitting on Nathan, and he's only mildly concerned. A very awkward dinner full of weird statements ensues. Peyton is at Trick, and Mia has come back. Peyton gives a big ol' speech, or tricks Mia into giving the big speech. Whatever it was, whichever way it was, it doesn't matter, because she's agreeing to work with the label. And all is well on the music front. Brooke manages to patch things up with her mom, and she shuts Brooke out. Lucas visits Peyton at her office, and they talk. They finally talk about the incident, and they're fighting on who let their relationship fail. And then he gives an angry Lubisky speech. She hits him with the fact that every time she sees his book, she buys it, and she gets a very emotionally charged angry speech while throwing a never-ending supply of books at him. They both say things they regret, and oof. Lindsay sees Lucas come out of Trick, and Lindsay gets pissy. Anyways, during the Life is Strange shots around town montage, we see Nathan see Nanny Carey skinny dipping in his pool. Maybe he should be concerned now. Episode 95 out of 187, Peter. So, after last night's incidents, no one is happy. Blah, blah, Lindsay hates Peyton, Peyton hates Lindsay, Nanny Carey keeps hitting on / sexually harassing Nathan, but him being a guy who was a teen in the 2000s says nothing. Peyton is determined to pay rent, but Lubisky says he won't take it. Peyton's determined to get him that damn rent check, and it's a pretty funny gag. Anyways, Lubisky and Lindsay talk about the previous night's incidents, and she's still pretty pissy because she's realizing she never stood a chance. The night ends with her telling him the shit we already know about him vehemently denying it. Lucas visits Peyton, and Lucas gets pissy! Peyton admits that she should have said yes and gives a romantic speech and says she still loves him and kisses him. He's surprised, but my man gives in to his heart's desires, and he says he's got to go see Lindsay. But guess what? Jaylee Hames saw it. Brooke and Peyton talk, and Brooke tells her, honey, Lindsay doesn't stand a chance. Trust me, I've been the Lindsay between Lucas and Peyton, and it is not a great place to be. And she convinces her that he still loves her. And she encourages Peyton to go get her man. Peyton heads out to go get him. This can only end catastrophically. She's outside his house, she knocks on the door, Lindsay answers, and God, Lucas asked her to marry him. God damn it, Lucas, you dumb bitch! The shot was wide open and you missed the mark by a mile. In fact, you missed the shot so bad the other team scored off of it. Peyton is crushed and Lucas is a dumb piece of shit. Episode 96 out of 187. We get extended scene of the proposal, and since she is not Peyton, I don't give a single rat's ass. We catch up to where the last episode ended, and Lucas's very sad reactions sure says a lot about our society. Anyways, after a night of excessive drinking, Brooke has to get driven home, since the bartender is an oppressive ass who won't let her drunk drive. She's got to go comfort Peyton, who's an inconsolable mess. Brooke knows that he'll throw himself into the wrong relationship since he can't never admit who he really loves, and this time won't be any different. Peyton thinks it is different and that it's never been more Jover, but she thinks wrong. Lucas lays awake that night, replaying the moment where all his dreams came true, and the passage he wrote about it in his book. He isn't making the same mistake, right? Lindsay tells Brooke and Jaylee Hames that she's marrying Lucas, and they both look really disappointed before saying congratulations. Nathan confronts the nanny and tells her to stop flirting with him, goddammit, but she only sees this as a challenge. Lucas tells the guy he's getting married, and they say, that's awesome, dude, who's the lucky girl? And he sounds offended that they have to ask. Anyways, Peyton's come to see Lubisky, and she's come in aggressive with, if you wanted to break my heart, there's 1,000 ways you could do it. You didn't have to propose to Lindsay to hurt me. He tries to deny it and says it was just wacky timing, but she's here to tell him not to marry Lindsay with another romantic monologue, but it's falling on the deaf ears of the man who sold the world. Jaylee Hames comes in and kinda chastises him, saying his ass is not ready to get married. Peyton runs into the teen girl who lives in her old house, and she's rooting for her and Lubisky to get together. Even this girl who's never met Lubisky knows better than he does. God damn it, Lucas, you dumb bitch! Anyways, Peyton's gotta go to work, and Jaylee Hames Scott is pissed at Peyton. Everything sucks, man. Peyton visits her mom's grave, and she's seeking advice from someone who can't answer. Skills comes to Lubisky that night to have a celebratory toast to his dumbass marriage. Anyhows, Mouth's boss got fired for having sex with an employee, and it turns out she was having sex with all of the employees. So now he's free to pursue Millie, who was Brooke's assistant mentioned a few episodes ago. Nanny Carey non-consensually kisses Nathan, and he's not okay with this, and he shouldn't be. This definitely qualifies as sexual harassment. Anyways, Peyton visits Lucas, and she tells him what she learned today. The most powerful act of love is sacrifice, and she's willing to let him go if this is what he truly wants, even if she's loved him from the moment they made eye contact. He's conflicted because he knows what he has to do, but he sure won't have the strength to do it, or the confidence. Them shots around town hit, and Lucas continues to lie to himself. We get a sad Peyton's certified classic sad Peyton sketch, and the episode ends here. Episode 97 out of 187. Peyton's directing a music video. It's an effort to distract herself from Lubisky's attempted marriage. Isn't life fascinating like that? Anyways, it's time to go to the first game of the season, and Peyton and Mia are going. Peyton's got to give Mia a crash course in who we dislike and she says we hate the girl showing off that cheap-ass engagement ring. Peyton, that was Keith's wedding ring. That means a shit ton to Lucas, hence why he was going to give it to you. Anyway, long story short, the girls of the gang plus the outsiders, Mia and Lindsay, get stuck in the library for the whole game, and they're gonna have a fight. It's real tedious bullshit, and at the end of the night, any bonding that occurred won't mean shit. Lindsay does start to piece together that Lucas is still in love with Peyton. No matter how much he tries to deny it, his ass is not beating the in love with Peyton allegations. Somehow, tonight is only the second worst thing to happen to Peyton in this library. Anyways, in an attempt to get out of the library they're locked in, they order a pizza, and guess who's delivering it? That's right, it's Tim time, baby. It's fucking Tim time! Yeah, baby! That's my boy! And of course, they're still trapped in the library for the game because Tim is a dumb piece of shite. Anyways, during the library incident, there's another unidentifiable Ryan Adams song in the background. So you know what that means. The Ryan Adams song counter's at 14. Woo! Even if it probably wasn't actually a Ryan Adams song. Anyways, Tim shows them that they super easily could have just disabled the lock that was keeping them trapped, so all of this could have been avoided. Hell yeah, brother. Dung, dung. I don't wanna be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately. All I have to do is think of me and I have peace of mind. I don't wanna be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately. All I have to do is think of me and I have peace of mind. I'm tired of looking around rooms wondering what I gotta do or who I'm supposed to be. I don't wanna be anything other than me. Season 5.5. And I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. What's up, YouTube? Glazed Ham here, back with another episode of the One Tree Hill Let's Play. It's time for episode 98 out of 187. That's right, get hyped, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, smack that bell so you never miss another upload. Let's get right into it, shall we? Anyways, Nathan gets home and takes a shower. Nanny Carrie decides that it's a good idea to commit some more sexual harassment and let's just call it sexual assault, and by getting in the shower with him in an effort to destroy his and Jaylee's marriage. Jaylee sees this. Nathan tries to explain that he's the victim of a fucking crime. Carrie makes it worse. Carrie loses her job. Back to Peyton, the record exec asshole from LA is back to screw over Peyton by poaching Mia. Anyhows, Nathan's been kicked out of the house and he's got to crash at Lubisky's. His marriage is falling apart, but it would seem that
divorce is almost back on the menu, boys!
Anyways, Peyton's series of shit events continues, but this is one she can recover from and will come out on top. At school, Jamie runs into Nanny Carrie, who is 100% going to kidnap him soon. It's just a matter of time. Since she can't have Nathan, she'll kidnap the boy and raise him as her own, since he's too trusting. Brooke and her bartender love interest for the season go to her NYC apartment, and Rachel's dying of a heroin overdose. She comes out of it just fine, but damn it, I thought the last time she was gonna be here was at the end of season 4. Well, doesn't matter, she'll be gone again soon enough. Lucas and Nathan have to go to Dan's parole hearing since it's been too long since we've gotten our boy on screen. They're fighting tooth and nail to make sure he doesn't get out, but you never know. But you know he will, and trust me, this will be very important soon. There's some hack message to the Brooks subplot about always being there to support people who need it, but we do not care, otherwise labeled as WDNC. Other shit occurs, but WDNC. And all you need to know is that the wedding is rapidly approaching, like we are in imminent danger. Also in imminent danger is Jamie, who's drowning in the pool while his parents are fighting. As they save him, Jaylee says their marriage is over. Ladies and gentlemen, this is divorce number 2! Episode 99 out of 187. It's time for Lucas and Lindsay to save the Inscott family's marriage, and it's through a combined bachelorette party. Surely nothing can go wrong. Dan is now a free man, in case you were wondering. The party goes on, shenanigans occur, and wah-hey! Wouldn't you know it, we end the episode with song number 15 on the Ryan Adams song counter with I Taught Myself How to Grow Old. Jaylee Haim Scott calls Lucas and tells him, plain and simple, you can't marry Lindsay. That's my girl! Aren't you happy? Aren't you excited? It's time for episode 100 out of 187 of One Tree Hill! We open up with a song that's from the boss himself, Bruce Springsteen, and Lubisky, Jaylee, and Jamie are having a little road trip dream sequence or something. We see Peyton pulls up to a church and sees a vision of her and Lucas getting married, and it's a very happy vision that surely can't come true. Unless? Anyways, Nathan and Jaylee repair the damages, and it looks like divorce is off the menu, boys. Just kidding, it was a dream sequence that Nathan was having in the shower. In reality, Jaylee read the manuscript Lucas gave her for his new book, and wouldn't you know it that it was about Peyton the whole time? Well, it's about yearning and wanting, but he's too blind to see it. You know who isn't too blind to see it? Really think about it. Who else would have read it? It's Lindsay. She knows, but she's too scared to admit it. Surely this won't have a negative impact on their wedding day. Nathan has some horrendously ironic foreshadowing by saying what could possibly happen in a church on your wedding, and the answer is so much. We get a flashback to Lubisky and Lindsay talking about the book right as they were about to get it on, and he fails to see that the book is about a scientist who sees something, suddenly gains purpose and clarity, and he then spends the rest of his life yearning to see this certain thing again. What thing, you may ask? Quite simple, a comet. Now why should that sound familiar to us? Before the wedding, Skills asks Peyton what her plan to get Lucas back is, and we all know everyone was thinking it. Lindsay sees Peyton walk away from her car and into the church, and she notices what her car is, and she starts to piece together that she's simply not that girl. Her ass is not the person who's standing beside him when all his dreams come true. Dan tries to show up, Jamie goes to go pee during the ceremony, and Nanny Carey is crashing the wedding, and she straight up kidnaps Jamie in the chaos of what comes next. At the altar, Lindsay makes her realization that the comet in the book was Peyton's car! She asks him when the first day he ever talked to Peyton was, and that's right, episode 1, when Peyton's car broke down. What's her car model? A Mercury Comet. I told you this was going to be important. The whole book was actually just all a metaphor for his yearning for Peyton. Lindsay finally exclaims that she was never the girl for Lubisky, no matter how much they say they love each other, and she takes her ring off and runs away as fast as she can. Lucas collapses onto the stairs, and damn, his day sucks. But it's about to get worse when they realize that Jamie's been kidnapped. Nobody knows where he went, except for Dan. He's going full-on Taken mode. Lucas is in denial over his quote-unquote bride leaving him, but we know where this is going. Anyways, there's nothing like a tragedy to save your marriage because Nathan and Jaylee are back together again. Couldn't split up Kato and Nash. Couldn't split up Tango and Cash. This is our song of exultant joy because Lucas is gonna get Peyton back. He foolishly went to try and win Lindsay over again, but she gives him the ring back, and when he says, "You can't leave," She just drops, "People always leave, Lucas. You know that." Anyways, Dan didn't finish the job on Nanny Carey, so we know this rat bastard bitch will come back for getting revenge on Dan for foiling her plan to steal Jamie. He gets the boy home, and the Scott Bros tag team fights Dan because they think he orchestrated it. Episode 101 out of 187. So, after one of the worst days of his life, what's Lucas up to? I bet you want to know, but oopsie, we're gonna focus on everyone but him this episode. Jaylee and Nathan are in couples therapy, Brooke is trying to adopt, and oh hey, Peyton's coping with the silence. Then, finally, we see that Lubisky is coping with the silence just like Peyton. It's almost like this means something. He's still lying to himself like a chump, and God, I'm sorry, but he's such a fucking idiot. There's no other way for me to phrase it. Anyways, this episode was a waste of my goddamn time, even if it was mostly good character stuff. Lubisky makes one last-ditch Hail Mary in New York, but it was all in vain, because when he picks up the phone, there will be nobody home. But his book is gonna get published come hell or high water. Episode 102 out of 187. Lucas is back to town. He's ready to start coaching again, but he's not ready to admit to himself that Peyton's the one. Jaylee Hames Scott is about to get back into the music industry again thanks to Peyton and her record label. Anyways, Brooke is gonna foster a baby, and getting the stuff together for that, she used it as an opportunity to get Lubisky and Peyton together so they can finally talk. Finally, we're back to the plotline that matters! They talk about what happened, and Lucas is still clinging on to that false hope that Lindsay will take him back like an idiot, which is even dumber when Peyton is literally right next to you. Jesus the Christ, man! Anyways, some more bullshit occurs, and guess who's back as the new Inscott family nanny? That's right, it's Deb. The realization has hit Lubisky that Lindsay is never coming back, and he's gonna start drinking heavily. Episode 103 out of 187. It's Jamie's birthday! Brooke has the baby to take care of, and it's a nightmare since she's not very skilled. Peyton's getting a recording studio built in her office and coping with her not being with Lubisky. Jaylee Hames visits Lubisky, and he's not doing too hot. He knows that Lindsay is going to be at Jamie's party, and he's praying that he's going to win her over. We get some other character shit, and it's kinda fun, but it's subplots I don't give a shit about. Anyways, it's party time! And finally, we see Lindsay enter the party. She and Lubisky talk, and she makes it pretty clear that it's over between them. She knows that it's all about Peyton and Lucas, so she won't stand between them anymore. Oh yeah, Deb had sex with a clown at Jamie's birthday. Not relevant at all, but it's very funny to me. Lindsay comes to Lucas's house to get the last of her things. She gives her key back and walks out for good. Thank God. Anyhows, Lubisky would start binge drinking, but Brooke needs help with da baby so she can finish her sketches, so he's gonna help her delay the problem. Anyways, Dan needs a heart transplant because he's got 6 months left to live if he doesn't get it. Let's go! Dan's gonna die! Dan's gonna die! Dan's gonna die! Episode 104 out of 187 of One Tree Hill. So, Dan is dying, and the Inscott family has to figure out how to break the news to Jamie that his grandpa is going straight to hell on a one-way, non-refundable ticket. Lubisky is still being distant, and Jaylee Hames has to tell Lubisky that Dan is gonna die, and he doesn't really believe it. He's honestly kinda relieved that his shitlord dad is gonna bite the dust. He confronts Danny Boy, and he makes him feel like shit by dropping that he's already dead to so many of the Tree Hill people. Anyways, Peyton and Jaylee Hames are making music, but they talk about Lucas and how he's clearly still in love with Peyton, and she's clearly going to deny it. Man, they really have a parallel arc. Anyhows, Quentin is a bitch boy because of his injury. Millie is a gamer playing, I think it's Halo 3. It's one of the Halos. I can't piece together which one it is at the shot, because I don't know Halo that well. I'm sorry, I know a lot of things, but this is not one of them. And this is happening in Mouth's apartment. And it's pretty funny. Back to the Inscott house, Jaylee Hames has to find a way to avoid having Jamie find out about Danny Boy. Speaking of, Lucas got confirmation that Dan really is dying, and it's pretty fun. While playing an NBA video game with Jamie teaches Skills the idea that we could just shoot threes and win. Peyton goes to NYC and is talking to Lindsay about Lubisky. She's trying to convince her about Lubisky still loving her, but Lindsay gives Peyton the manuscript and she reads the book. We get some montagey shit of people trying to repair the damages they've done, i.e. Dan, Quentin, etc., and WDNC. But what we do care about is the basketball team and their new stupid strategies. Brooke has a crazy meeting idea, and we ballin' in the fashion industry with a new baby clothes line. Lucas be writing again, but he's still lamenting his lost love, Lindsay. The heavy drinking arc is imminent for sure. He video calls Lindsay and she uses all her strength to decline it. He must be starting to realize that it's so over for them. We see Peyton reading the book and oh my god, she gets it now because she's literally crying in bed. Episode 105 out of 187. We get a brief montage of what's going to happen before we snap back to 18 hours earlier. Lucas is still holding on to that false hope. Brooke has to take the foster kid in for emergency surgery, and she's ultra sad now. Peyton's gotta comfort her while she's waiting in the hospital, and oh hey, Lubisky is here. Brooke kicks Peyton out since she's got shit to do, and oh hey, Lubisky can finally say a word to Peyton as she leaves. Crazy. Oh, hey, Mia's back in town from touring. Anyways, Deb is engaging in some cyber sex! And Nathan walks in, he's traumatized for life, and Nathan has to tell his mom to not meet up with a stranger from the internet. Jamie runs away from home because his mom threw away his card for Dan, and now we've got to tell him what Dan did and why this little gremlin should hate him. But said little shitwad is far too caring and pure for his own good. Back with Brooke, the baby surgery went well and all is good for her. Or it would be if she didn't have to return to her birth parents since she was only able to foster the kid so she could get the surgery. Jaylee has a small crisis of faith and Peyton helps her feel better. Mouth gets a job to do some real sports casting again at tonight's game. During the half, Lindsay calls Lubisky, and whatever she says, he's left extremely emotionally volatile. Everything is going well until the opposing coach tells his team to physically assault Quentin, and for some reason, the refs are on the opposing side for this. This happens again, and Lucas physically assaults the kid that assaulted Quentin because he's so based. It turns out that Lindsay has moved on, and it looks like it's time for the heavy drinking arc round 2. Let's go! Lucas goes to visit Brooke, and he breaks the news to her that A, he got kicked out of the game, and B, got his heart broken. Lubisky is hard drinking tonight. Peyton approaches him, and he's so destroyed emotionally that he has nothing, and she gets him home safely. Also, Deb meets with the internet guy, and it's Skills, my man! And they have some funky town shenanigans. Anyhow, back on track, Peyton drops Lubisky off at home, and in a drunken stupor, Lubisky says, "I hate you, I wish you never came back, you ruined my life." And all those fun things you say to your future wife. It's time for episode 106 out of episode 187. We open with a non sequitur where Jamie performs I Don't Wanna Be with actual musician Gavin DeGraw, and it reminds you of when this show had an intro. Good times. Anyways, back to the canon events. Everything sucks for Lubisky. He's been drinking so much, and we get a fun sequence of him just taking shot after shot inside Trick, and we see the sheer damage that Lubisky has been doing to himself as he goes down the downward spiral. Lucas also has a mohawk now, and after a visit from Nathan and Jamie, he's gonna get his shit back on track. Brooke is about to lose her shit since it's time for the baby to go home to her real parents. Jaylee visits Lubisky and she's gonna help fix him. They go for a drive, a water balloon splatters on his window, Jaylee gets out of the car and lets him do his thing. On the roof of the building that was once Karen's cafe, Jaylee Hames and Lubisky talk, and she's gonna convince him to get Peyton back through the powers of the predictions they wrote back in school. Anyway, Nathan's recovery is going terribly and he'll never be basketball again. Except then Quentin gives him some motivational ass speech about whatever, who gives one, and it won't work yet. Anyways, Peyton has a Cure album, Disintegration, in her hand, so you know she's fucked up. Jaylee comes and gives Peyton all of the predictions from school, and surprise, surprise, they're all about Peyton. Lindsay visits Lubisky, and it's horrendously awkward. The book is done, and so are they. She says goodbye, kisses him on the cheek, and scrams. We get a fear-facing montage, and it's something. Lucas finally seems over it, Peyton's at the river court, and she's doing her thing by writing a massive basketball court-sized love letter to Lucas. That night, he visits the river court and reads all of the things Peyton wanted to say but couldn't. And wouldn't you know it, it's all Cure lyrics to the song Love Song from Disintegration. Without looking at it, I want to gut check and say it's the 5th track. Let's see, plain song, pictures of you, close down. No, it's the 5th or 4th track. Doesn't matter. This doesn't matter, sorry. That's talking about the Cure again. You know me. Lubisky calls Jaylee Hames, and he's got to get out of town for a bit. But she convinces him that he's got to tell whoever it is that he truly loves that he does. But it's up to him to decide who that girl is. Lindsay calls Lubisky and tells him that she still loves him or something, but WDNC. Lucas visits Brooke. They talk and give you the hint that there's still a spark of romance between them. But this heavy-handed show has all the subtlety of me writing poetry. Lubisky then ends his visits with Peyton, and we get his big ol' romantic speech where he admits to everything we know to be true. Peyton talks about this recurring dream she has, where she's back in that hotel room in LA with Lubisky. And he proposes, and every single time she says yes. There's very clearly something going on, but we can't direct confirmation yet. And as the new Jaylee Hames Scott song starts being played in the background, we see Lucas head to the airport. Everyone is getting on the right track except for Dan, because it's end of season tragedy time. And hey, we got through one season without a car accident. Oh, Dan's been hit by a car and ragdolls across the road as his pager goes off, signifying there's a heart ready for him. Oh god, it's impossible to say that with a straight face, because it's genuinely so fucking funny. He just flies across that street after getting hit with that car, and it's hilarious. Anyways, in the airport, we see Lucas make a phone call, and of course, Brooke, Peyton, and Lindsay all get a phone call at the same time. Only one of them is getting a call from Lubisky, which means only one of them is going to hear that he's at an airport with 2 tickets to Vegas, and he's asking if she'd like to get married tonight. And we hard cut before we see who he called. It's a cliffhanger, unless you have any critical thinking skills, in which case it's the moment they can finally have it. Next time on A Leg of Glazed Ham is committing to the bit and is talking about One Tree Hill. Well, I guess we've got to have one shit teen in the show at any given moment. Dan wakes up in the hospital, or so he thinks he has anyway, and after a dream sequence of what married life could be like between the 3 women, he snaps back to reality, and there she is! Peyton's father!